Welcome back to the Real Rundown in Real Estate. I'm Juanita Jackson with over at Jay's Houses and Properties.
And I'm Jeannette Erving with the Good Life RVA, realtor based in Richmond, Virginia.
All right, all right, all right. And what is our topic today?
Our topic today is your credit score isn't perfect. Can you still buy?
That's a good question.
That is really good.
That's a good question, Jeanette. Really, that's a really good topic. And it's one that inquiring minds want to know.
For sure. So I would say my first line is always, you don't have to have a perfect score. I do think a perfect score is a myth. However, you need to have a strong score. Now, there are products out there like FHA that will give you an opportunity to have a lower score and also a lower interest rate. But most lenders really look for between 580 and 640 range. And the closer you are to 640 and above, I do think that strengthens you a little bit more than under 640. What you say, Juanita?
So I want to talk about the 580.
Okay.
So you can purchase a home at a 580, but a 580 means nothing else could be like you have no room for the like being high debt. You have no room for collections and what is it? You don't have a lot of room when you're buying a house with 580.
Mm-hmm.
That means everything else has to be perfect
Mm-hmm.
to purchase a home at a 580.
Mm-hmm.
Like your debt ratio needs to be just right.
Okay.
You can't have all these collections. You can't owe, all these companies that you hadn't paid. So we're talking about when we talk about a 580, we're talking about a clean 580. What do you say about that?
So for me, I know my clients may want to purchase at a 580, but I would ask if we sit in front of a lender and see what we need to do to just strengthen them a little bit more. And it may be something as simple as to pay down some of the credit card, maybe not pay it all. It could also be maybe a medical collection, an old bill. It could be just simply a name mix up on your credit report. My name has two N's and two T's. There are some times that people will only put one N in my name. So sometimes just getting that up, getting those things cleaned up can boost your score. Simple as an address change. I never lived at that address. That is not my current address. Things like that, little things. Let's put a little work in.
Right.
So that they can have that wiggle room.
Right. And that's before. Now, do you think this should be before they apply for the loan?
Well, even if they're in the midst of applying and they're looking to get their pre-approval and it comes back at a 580, I think that's counsel needs to happen at that point to say, yes, you're at a 580 and you can still purchase. However, if you are not in a hurry and you got about 3 to 4 months to work on some things, let's try to do that to strengthen you a little bit.
Right. And two, and another thing, and this is a case where, what I'm dealing with now, and it's where the buyer has items in dispute. And that's when if you're going to dispute something, then you cannot go ahead and apply for the loan because they will not give you the loan when you got items on your credit in dispute as well. So I think if you're going to, like you said, maybe clean up a little, so that would mean waiting a little longer.
Yeah. And it's, if you're not in a hurry, if your lease is renewable, if you're not waiting to the ninth hour and your lease has expired or whatever, it's getting ready to expire. If you got some time, my strongest suggestion would, let's do some cleanup. And let's talk about the disputes a little bit. This is what I share with especially my first time home buyers. If you know you owe the debt, don't waste your time disputing it, because it's coming back. It's coming back. Right. Pay the debt, get it over, because all you're doing now is wasting time. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to get a home within a year, you don't have time to waste time. Right. If you know you owe it, there's no sense in writing a dispute letter. Right. And trying to get rid of the debt, because it's going to come back. Right. And then, and what do you say? And I know this is kind of a little bit off the topic. What do you say about when you got the buyers that's getting their credit cleaned up, and they're saying, and a lot of people that's doing credit repair is saying, oh, we can remove your student loans. We can remove, bad debt. Mm-hmm. So have you had any experience with that, working with the buyer? So the answer is no. And here's why, Juanita. I am just Jeannette. I am Jeannette. I am going to treat every client that sit in front of me as if the roles were reversed, mm-hmm. and that I am looking for you to help me, right? Mm-hmm. I am now the client and you are the agent. What would I do? What would you do in this situation? So I am going to treat you like that. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, this is why I first tell people I am not built for everyone. I am not everyone's cup of tea. That's why I drink coffee. Okay. I don't drink tea. I am not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not. Yeah. So I'm not a firm. I will really strongly discourage credit repair. Really? I will 100%. If you got to pay somebody mm-hmm. these fees a month to get stuff off your credit, you could do that yourself and save your own money. Yeah, you can. I would rather, let's look at credit restoration, right? Let's get in front of a lender. Most lenders will tell us exactly what we need to do, right? And if you want this house, you can learn what to do. You got to apply the time. You got to have skin in the game. You have to. And let's say on Sunday, we're going to sit down and you're going to write those dispute letters. You're going to do whatever that lender told you to do. But to pay somebody a credit repair, no. Because they're whatever they do, I don't know, whatever they do to get it off for a moment in time, and then that debt coming back. Well, I think it's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. Now, when it comes to, and sometimes people just don't feel like they can do it themselves. But if you're dealing with somebody that's doing the credit repair the right way, and that's with old stuff that needed to come off your credit anyway, which you could do, or you could pay somebody to do it. So it's not all bad if you're going to use a credit repairer, but you have to use the right ones, not the ones that the items are going to temporarily come off. And then by the time, if it took us 45 days to 60 days to close on this property, and then when the lender go back and try to run the credit 3 days prior to the closing, and bam, it's back there again, and you can't close. Mm-hmm. So in a situation like that, you want to be very, very careful if you use a credit repairer, and how are they going by repairing your credit? Are they repairing your credit the right way? Mm-hmm. Because I'm not saying it's bad. I just rather for them to go through credit restoration versus a credit repair company. So can you explain the difference when you say credit restoration versus credit repair? Explain the difference. So for me, a credit repair is who you're going to pay to just you sit back and let them do what they need to do,
Mhm.
right? And I have not heard of any good experience that come out of that. You can never get the person on the phone. Your credit is not moving, but they're taking their money every month. They're getting their payment every month. I said I.
No. What the reason I'm looking like this because a company came to mind.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, a
I
lot of
mean,
people, I don't want to say the name because I
yeah.
don't want to sue,
Please. Yeah,
but a
right.
lot of people use this company and then they pay them every month and they
And
do
nothing is
not
happening. Yeah.
fix your credit. You're just paying, I think they charge a fee of $99. I've seen it on so many
Yep.
buyers' credit.
And now, from
They,
what I hear now, it went from 99 to 149.
oh, wow.
And you didn't do anything.
Yeah,
So
they
the restoration is sitting before a lender. And that restaurant, we're to restore it. We're trying to get you back, restored the right way.
right.
So I would rather for that restaurant, get it in front of a lender, and that lender will guide you. They are pretty savvy, especially the one I choose to use at Fulton Bank. He just chooses to go through these steps. And sitting in front of a credit counselor, they typically are free to sit in front of them and they help guide you. That is restoring. That way you know that you know that you know it is going to get done. It's going to get done the right way. And your credit will be restored the right way. And you didn't pay a dime
Right.
to somebody for 6 months and you didn't get nothing.
Exactly. And I agree with that. And another thing I want to add too, Jeanette, because nowadays they have all different types of loans. Not and when we say, can you buy a home even if you have less than perfect credit? Yes, you can.
You
Because
can.
of the fact that they have so many different options when it comes to lending now. I've even heard, I have not used, I've not had a case like this before, but I have seen cases where people are not using credit. If you have the cash flow and you can show the cash flow through your bank statements, you can buy a home that way. I have not
I haven't
experienced,
either.
I've not had a buyer that did it that way, but I've seen situations like that and I've heard of them. So there are different ways when they say creative lending now that you can use. So yeah, you can buy a home with less than perfect credit.
When you're even thinking about it, right? When you're even thinking about it, purchasing a home, that is. The moment you start really thinking about it and start getting serious, I would strongly encourage people to start pulling their credit report, right? And you can do one every quarter. You get one every year. And I think since COVID, they're giving you more, more options. You used to only could get one, but I think you can get, a few of them, and I
Yeah.
said, do it every quarter.
Like two, if as I can remember, you could get like two a year for free. You could get a
Oh,
free credit. You can pull a free credit report twice a year for free.
I think it's a little bit more than that now, but I can ask the lender. I'm not sure because I've heard him say that it's more. But even if they would revert it back to just one, what I would strongly suggest is that you do one every year. You got Experian, you got Equifax, and you got TransUnion, right? That's three. Do maybe Experian in January. And then in May, you do TransUnion. And then September, you do another one. So you know that in January, what was on Experian is no longer showing up in May.
But you know, why wouldn't you do all three on the at a time? Why wouldn't
You
you do?
can. You
Yeah,
can, but I like to break it up because you only get one. Like you get all three, like one a year. If they revert it back to that, you can. But then you got to wait a whole nother year to see if anything got cleaned up. They pretty much report the same stuff.
Yeah, but you know what? And I want to say this now. Credit Karma is not accurate when it comes to the score, but it gives you a ballpark. and it keeps you updated on what is on your credit. Like anything that if you apply for new credit, Credit Karma is going to send you a message saying you apply for new credit, or it kind of keeps you up to date on your credit. Now, Credit Karma is accurate when it comes to what's on your credit. Now, the credit score is not. I still feel like it gives you a ballpark of what your credit looks like, but it's not as accurate. But as far as the information on Credit Karma, is very accurate. So even if they were to pull their credit, once a year, twice a year, Credit Karma is going to keep you updated with what's on your credit. And it shows you, what's late pays and all of that. All that information on Credit Karma is actually accurate from what I've experienced. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, in as far as going online, you can go online and dispute things that should not be on your credit, or yourself. Mm-hmm. It gives you, if you go into the site, the option to dispute those items yourself. So, like, even if they didn't run, my opinion, pull the credit report several times a year, which I think they should pull it. You should pull it twice a year, maybe every 6 months. My opinion.
Again, that second benediction. Here's what I'm going to say. I will not say Credit Karma is not, but Credit Karma is not a conversation I will have, because I know TransUnion, I know Experian, and I know Equifax. And none of those, when the creditors are looking, the lenders are looking at not 1 ounce says Credit Karma. Now, do I have Credit Karma? Absolutely. It's a snapshot right? But when I talk to my clients, it is those 3 bureaus that I am talking about. I never mention it. I just choose to do things in a different way, because it's they're looking at you as the subject matter expert. So I'm not going to put anything in their lap, because sometimes they would ask me, well, my credit score on Credit Karma says X, Y, and Z. And I said, well, that's what Credit Karma says. Mm-hmm. However, TransUnion, Equifax, and what was the other? TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And Experian are the 3 major bureaus, even though there are more. But those are the 3 major ones that are lender. Somebody is going to loan you $350,000 to purchase a house, and Credit Karma is not there.
No,
that's just me.
Credit Karma is not for that. Credit Karma is only to give you, like you said, a snapshot for your own personal, your own personal reasons for, kind of keeping up with what's on credit. Right. I mean, nobody's going to go with Credit Karma or Credit Karma score and all that. But I'm just saying that's just for your own personal, reasons for just trying to keep up with what's on the credit, or maybe things that you may need to fix, because it does tell you, like you said, the derogatory item, all of that is on Credit Karma. And that's what I'm saying. It's not, the lender's not going to go with Credit Karma score and all that, the score. And I tell people the score doesn't matter. When they say, oh, Credit Karma says that, that's almost saying, like, when my house is worth Zillow saying my house is worth that, and we haven't even comped the house or did comparison. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I would relate Credit Karma to, actually seeing what's on the credit, or what the lender says it is versus Credit Karma. If that all makes sense. But anyway,
no, I get it. I totally get it. But I would say, the moment you start thinking, please start doing the work.
Right.
And that's all I got.
All right. Well, thanks again for watching The Real Rundown in Real Estate. I'm Juanita Jackson with Over at Jay's Houses and Properties.
And I'm Jeannette Erving with the Good Life RVA, based in Richmond, Virginia.
Until next time.
See y'all.